Pretty sure in OCR's history, I don't think they've had such a panel like this put it together, just renting out the venue on here. So I want to first off thank everyone for showing up here. I want to first of what we hope to become a community collaboration of just local real estate agents out there in the industry, really redefining things, and we're really looking forward to just an engaging panel. And I appreciate everyone's diligence on reporting on time. Because like I said, we are trying to end this at 4:30. There's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to connect with them at all. If you guys already bought the QR codes, we'll send you their contact information if you're interested in any of the opportunities that they talk about out here. But yeah, let's just get started onto here. So we're going to start off by just reaching out. And why don't we start off with Fred? Why don't we start with you? Why don't you just give a little introduction about who you are, how you came into real estate, the growth you saw in it, and yeah, why don't you take it away?
How you guys doing?
Great.
Awesome. Well, my name is Fred Said. I've been licensed. I just turned 40 a few weeks ago, and I've been licensed since I was 20. I was raised in Irvine. I got my license, third-generation realtor. I've been a full-time agent since April of 2008, a month before my wedding. I started building a team. I came to KW 10 years ago to KW Irvine in January of 14 because I followed the MREA book, and I wanted to build a team. In January 14, I was doing about 6 transactions a year, $5 million and 100 in GCI as a solo agent, and I had the aspirations that I wanted to lead a lot of people. Didn't know what I was doing, but I figured KW had the path and the operational tools for me. So fast forward, we grew it from 2014 to 18 to 10 deals to 100 deals, 40 million in volume, million in GCI. I was telling Derek earlier, I got offered a job to be a trainer for Keller Williams International to move to Austin, Texas. I didn't take it. I ended up partnering with a guy named Ben Kinney. If you guys have heard of Ben Kinney before, he's my business partner. We partnered in 2019. And then we all, Ben, I, and a bunch came together. We created a company called Place. And the rest is history. So now our team sells. I'm in 5 KWs. I'm in Irvine, San Diego, Downey with Mr. Rector over here, in Porter Ranch, and in Upland now. So we sell all major counties. We'll do probably upwards of 240 transactions this year, 200 million. Yes, we will. Yeah. Damn right we will. Yeah. And I still sell 2 to 3 homes a month. I run a training business. If you ever heard of some of the masterminds we do at billion-dollar masterminds and some of the events that we hold in Orange County, I love training. I love growing people. And I love having conversations about what the market really is and what it really takes to sell some homes and not the BS that some of you guys post on social media that you can't back with results. So,
yeah,
sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, no, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Cheryl, you want to take? Oh, you want to go? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Cheryl Coleman. I actually got my license in college, and I just needed a course, and I wanted to buy a house, so I bought my first house before I was a teenager. So I bought my house before I was 20, and then just kept buying. But I had some big jobs. I was on the East Coast. I was vice president of marketing for a company, and then I flew around the world for 9 years doing negotiations. And then I came to California in 2000 to open up medical centers. And it was supposed to be 6 months, but the weather was so nice, I never went home. But then when I went to buy a house, I could not find a good realtor. I'm like, man, what is up? And I was looking at the commission people were making, and people were bringing me flowers, but they weren't finding me homes. And I thought, my background's marketing. I don't see anybody doing any real marketing. So why don't I become a realtor? So I did. And then the crash came, which should have been scary, but it was the best thing that could have happened for me. First of all, I was twiddling my thumbs and ran across my farm, which a lot of it was owned by the Veterans Administration. I called them. They hired me to sell foreclosures. So the very first foreclosure in Huntington Beach at the crash was my listing. So I actually started my real career, selling foreclosures, and then I learned short sales. I was dubbed the short sale queen of Orange County. And from there, all the people that I helped, I didn't kick them out of a house. I actually really helped them get their credit back, get them a house later. Same with short sales, repair their credit, get forgiven by the bank. All that karma came back to me. And then all these repeat clients, suddenly referrals. So I think if the market hadn't crashed, something that happened that was bad and a lot of my competition left, I don't know that I'd be where I was today. So sometimes bad things are really good things. I just want to, like this market, take advantage of it. A lot of your competition's going away. So this is a time for you to really step out and shine. So.
Thank you. All right. Big D.
So a couple things. First of all, I'm going to suggest that you hang around and Fred and I were in the other room, and just an incredible conversation. And then, so I would try to make relationships with everybody you can in this room. So Cheryl and I have become fast friends since I was in this room last time. It's just, you'll learn something from a lot of different people. So take advantage of the people that, like the Fred and the Cheryls of the world. And thank you for having me. My name is Derek Oy. I have been officially in the real estate business. I started passing out pumpkins and marketing material for a realtor in Hacienda Heights when I was 7 years old. They have no child labor laws there. I said, that's what I want to do.
Nice. No
No deviation from the mean or the average. That's what I want to do. Okay. With the fly swatters and they used to farm like you guys. They were like old school gangster farmers. So I just, what do I do? Ask this guy when I was 7 years old. We'll get a real estate license. So I went to Cal State. I got my license when I was 18. I started answering phones at a real estate office, and went to Cal State Fullerton. Got a degree in finance. Went to the University of Southern California, the Less Center. Decided I didn't want to go work for CBRE and take out the trash. I said I'm going to stay in residential real estate. One of the things that I absolutely did like a maniac is I said, I want to find people to hang around. And this is like, superpower. I want to find people that hang around that make me better. And that's literally what I did. Okay. So, I called up the #1 RE/MAX agent worldwide, Ron Garber, back in the REO insurance. Let me just come spend time with you. Went to work for the #1 Century 21 agent in the world, Rich Noser, Marty Rodriguez. So I just said, if I can just hang around guys, my world will get bigger and I will start thinking different, right? Do you know what I mean? So then after that, I started knocking doors for 5 years when I went full time. First year I did 6 deals. Second year or fifth year I did 117 deals personally. I do run a team, but I can tell you this, I had a 5-year stretch where I sold between 175 and 210 pieces of real estate personally, okay? And by the way, teams are great, but, people say it's not always as sexy as it looks, right, Fred?
Amen to that.
You know what I mean? Cheryl would say that. So I'm just saying, everybody thinks there's the evolution, but I know a lot of highly successful individual solo agents that have booked schedules. And I can tell you this. So I'm at the stage of my career, I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I'm here today in this room. Kobe Bryant had this thing called Dear Basketball, okay? So the next 20 years, 17 years, it's Dear Real Estate, okay? What can I do to give back to the profession that's given me such a great life? Dear Real Estate.
Oh, wow. No, absolutely a fantastic panel. I want to thank everyone, of course, for coming out. Derek, I'm going to start with just this, so we're going to be talking a little bit. You really set the stage just sharing about how your gangster pumpkin sales. You guys are just mega agents right here. What role has mentors or coaches really played in your life at this level that you guys are playing at right now, where it's beyond just the everyday balancing between the whirlwind and a sense of urgency that everyone else seems to have around you? But what were some of the things that have come from your mentorships or some of your counselors, or who are those people?
Sure. Would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, when I joined Keller Williams, everything changed for me because it's just so different. And listening to Gary Keller, for example, playing red light, green light, we do that every year. I don't care how much money I make. Tommy calls everybody that we pay and tells them to lower a bill, and they do it. So learning things like that, getting marketing people to market with you, so your marketing expenses aren't so high. Feeding your database every day. My children learned data entry very early because I would come home with a box
Really
of business
noticing
cards, and they'd have to enter, and now Tommy's doing the data entry, and now my son-in-law is also doing. So we feed the database every day. Our database is 65,000. So that's because we've been feeding it. But I think there's little tidbits, handwritten notes. When I came to Keller Williams, my coach said, write a handwritten note. And I'm like, nobody does that anymore. And I did it. Suddenly my clients were calling me and saying, is there anything you don't do? You did I got your note, So all these things that I learned from Keller Williams that I didn't learn from former companies just made a huge, huge difference. And then how to run a business, looking at your expenses, knowing, I mean, when you talk about the economic model, I've done that form, used to do it every year, and I hadn't done it for a few years, and then I just did it, and I was like, I don't have to sell as much real estate because the prices went up so high. So I always had to have 5 active listings to make my $500,000 net, and that's always been my goal. And I only need 3 now, so because the prices changed. So it's just, but you wouldn't do this in a regular company. You just learn so much more to grow. 5 streams of income, just so many more things that you learn from Keller Williams that I didn't have a clue about when I started. So.
Yep. Which one of you guys want to go next? Want to add to that?
As far as as far as mentors, I mean, I talked to a couple about it. I mean, I would also just add this. I mean, there's too many from the Mike Ferries, Tom Ferries, people like Keller Williams. There's too many to name. My suggestion and advice would be the following. Okay, is be the person, and when Fred and I were in the room, I said this comment to him. I said, the funny thing about it is, when you get bigger, you actually think, like right now, I think I have accomplished very little in this business and very little. Okay, so my advice is this: there's too many mentors to state that I owe my career to, but always be trying to improve. Okay. B, the biggest competitor is always going to be yourself. I think if you've been in the business, you start looking at what somebody's doing on Instagram, you start looking at their numbers in the MLS, you start looking at, real trends, you start looking at this. And if you can just focus on saying, hey, the real biggest competition is you versus your own potential. That's the real one. And that's what we're scared to look at. Okay? Because everything else is easy, but that's what we're do. But as far as the question, as far as mentors and stuff like that, I would just say I've had too many to mention.
Nice.
If that suffices, just does.
Brad, you got anything on that?
I got a little bit on that for sure. Mondays at 1 p.m., I have a coach call with Ben Kinney, with all of us place operators for an hour, and that has to do with leadership and running an organization. Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m., I have a coach call. Anybody know who Chris Heller is? Yeah. Anybody know his wife, Nina? Mm-hmm. She used to be Gary Keller's health and wellness coach. So Nina's been my coach for 4 years. So Tuesday mornings, I get coached on health, wellness, and really stress management. On Thursday mornings at 8 o'clock, I have my business coach, Drew Lee. We own a coaching company called Forward Coaching. So he's one of our coaches. He coaches me. And that's my consistent coaching throughout the week. Once a month, I have a training coaching call because I'm one of the trainers nationally for Place on what to do. And once a month, we have a coach that coaches our CRM at Brivity. So to say, at minimum, do I believe in coaching? 100%. I believe that a human being that is an expert in a certain field that you might want to get into can see with neutral third-party eyes what's good and what's bad. And I believe the point that you as a human being become uncoachable is the point that growth will no longer exist. So you have to be in a position in our industry with what you do to be coachable. So I'm willing to invest the cash and the ability because I don't care if I do $1 billion in volume, $100 million, it doesn't matter. I will never stop growing. I told somebody this morning that I recruited to be in our Downey Market Center with you. And I said, the day that I stop growing and come from a growth mindset is the day that I'm in a coffin. And that's just the way I want to live. We were talking about that earlier, Derek and I, because I'm like, he was asking me a question, could you have believed 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago when you were a solo agent that you have what you have today? I said, he said, would this have been like your Mount Everest? I'd be, absolutely. He's like, what is it today? I'm like, it's a pebble in my shoe. Yep. It's nowhere near where I want to go, of what I know I'm capable of, what God's blessed me with. So mentorship is key. I mean, I'm now blessed I coach and I train over 17,000 people the past 7 years at family reunions and stage and privately, and some people in this room I've coached actually. But I think it's something that we need to take seriously. I believe that your market center offers a lot of opportunities. Your cell phone and YouTube offers a lot of opportunities. I do believe that the one thing that we need more than ever before, other than faith, which I'm a man of faith, but other than that, the second thing is personal development. And I think that the one thing that we can all do without spending any money is do what Jeff Olson, who wrote The Slight Edge, which is one of my favorite books of all time, he taught the 15-10 method. 15 minutes of a positive audio a day, aka podcast or audiobook, and then 10 pages of a good book per day. I fail at the book part. I'm fantastic at the audio part. And I believe when you can do that on a consistent basis, you'll turn your car into what I call a drive time university. Yep. And you'll just naturally, just incrementally, just compound effect should kick in. Because last time I checked, our world is a scary place to be. And I don't think it's going to get any better, and it's an election year. It's going to be a shit show in many ways, unfortunately. And the industry is getting scarier. And our commissions are getting smaller per deal, and they will for the rest of our lives. So we have to do more units to net the income that we want long term. Otherwise, you will not exist in this industry. In order to do that and know that and feel good about it and have a mindset strong enough, you have to grow, you got to get coached, and you got to get mentored. Was that clear?
That was
Good?
clear. That was concise. Right?
Yeah.
Why don't you give these guys a round of applause, right? Thank you for that. All right, so now that we're a little more warmed up, I think we're going to get a little more into the technical section now. We're going to be talking about the economic model really quick. So for those of you who don't know what it is out there, I wrote a definition for it. It's a strategic framework which is essential for setting your financial goals, structuring your daily activities, and ensuring sustainable business growth. It's more than just financial gains. It's about building a business with a foresight and consistency. So we're going to explore right now how these panelists have effectively applied these models in their strategies and in their day-to-day lives. So, and if anyone wants to just jump right in there, how would you guys start? What numbers are you guys tracking out there right now? What are your big? Go ahead. You're converting stuff.
Well, there's a ton of KPIs. Okay, Fred and I were talking about something as far as the back door, and we were talking about the back door. Like, one of the big things that we pride ourselves on is production per agent. Okay, it's a big thing. We just started recruiting, but all of our business has been built by, referral, 100%. I look at net profit. Okay. And, I can tell you this, I've never mailed a piece of mail in my entire life. I've never been on social media in my entire life. When I started off, I said, I'm going to build a business, a $2 billion sales business on skill and service to the industry.
Is that your number?
Yeah.
Is that still your number?
Oh, no.
You said $2 billion.
Oh, yeah, no. I want to go further than that.
There we go.
Yeah. No, I don't. I told you not to harass me here, Fred. I love you. So, no, but what I'm saying is if you develop the skill and the mentality of service, like, I'll just give you one example, and then, I'm not going to get off the reservation like a buffalo here, but I'll just say this. I was telling somebody in the car when I was pulling up, guy works for Lewis Homes. I said, hey, look, I'm going to connect you with this guy. Well, how do you know he's going to say yes? I go, because he stayed at my house. Well, why is that? I go, I was selling him a house. The seller didn't sign the grant deed. It was a divorce one day before closing. He didn't have anywhere to go with his family, his wife. I moved him into my house for 110 days until I could find him a house. Him and his wife and his mother. Now, I was single. I didn't have the kids, but I moved him into my house. Okay?
Legit.
That netted, and I didn't do it, 13 referrals. I just have this thing, nothing bad happens on my watch for you. You work, if you're in my world, do things happen? Absolutely. But I will go above and beyond, okay? Rich and I were talking about a partner of mine, Milton. At one point, I didn't hear from him. I drove down to his house in Pico Rivera, knocked on his door. Wow. Well, were you going to interrogate him? I just want to make sure he was okay. Sat on his porch. We got a long life together here. Want to make sure you're okay. I'm forgetting the questions. I'm getting fired up, Byron. So
No, you're still on point, man.
we're still talking about numbers.
I'll bring him back into there. I mean, if you guys haven't run, there are certain KPIs, key performance indicators. Just to bring it down a little bit.
Can I just give two big like global general
That's what
thoughts.
This is about.
Okay, Eric, big general. Is number one is this: delayed gratification. Okay, if you want to create wealth. And you're going to need to start making money, and then you're going to have to put the governor on your spending for maybe a year, 2 years, or 3 years, okay? So it doesn't go directly with your income. There needs to be what we call a gap, the gap in the gain, okay? Because you're going to need to create an investment plan, a retirement plan as a real estate agent, okay? So I was driving a Volkswagen Fox when guys that were doing my volume were driving that 535, and I said, I'm buying that fourplex, I'm buying those condos, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. That's number one. And number two, you should have somebody look at your financial plan. I hired a company called Alchemy of Money. Okay, the guy's been on stage with Gary, reached out to him, and I said, I want to run a Fortune 100 company. And he looked at it and he says, you're not running it right now. I said, I'll pay you to help me run it. So have the courage to look at your finances. So
Yeah, no.
anyways, just the general things.
What about you, Cheryl? I mean, we went a little off on there. What are you? What
I don't know where
are
we
your
were.
current?
I-
What are your big numbers that you're tracking right now? How do you make sure that you're staying?
Well,
on
I'm a
task and on
former
goal?
accountant, so I look at a spreadsheet every day. I mean, I just do, and try and sustain. I'm not looking to grow. At this point in my career, I just want to sustain and retire. My financial planner said that I've done better than any realtor she's ever seen because I really do. 25% of my income goes in the bank. And then all the properties I bought, of course, and then refinanced last year at under 3%. So the equity I have in all these homes is ridiculous. So kind of starting over with a new team, mentoring. I'm just having a blast. We do every Tuesday we do role play, and it's so much fun. And these guys are here today. I think the funnest part is when we get to say what we want to say, but not what we're supposed to say, because I think everybody runs into that. What they really want to say to a client and what we practice saying. But I'm just having fun, which I haven't had in a while, because sometimes these teams can be a nightmare, and it's like, you're pulling your hair out. But right now, I've just got this bunch of really sweet, hardworking people, and we're having fun. So,
What's your team culture like over there?
So economic model. You guys have a pen and paper? So draw a circle. Draw a line. So draw a circle. Look at my hand. Draw a circle. Draw a line down the middle of the circle. On the top right-hand side of the circle, write paid leads. Paid leads. On the top left-hand side of the circle, write non-paid leads. Okay? Because an economic model is nothing more than a plan on how you can generate leads and how you can generate business, right? Economically, ideally friendly as well, right? Underneath non-paid leads, which is the left-hand side, by the way, if you're looking at the paper, number one, you want to write down sphere and past clients. Number two, you want to write down open houses. Number three, you want to write down prospecting. So in our world at Place, we have what's called a lead generation model, AKA economic model, that goes hand in hand with the next section. But the key thing is when you build an economic model, your goal is how many units am I going to sell in 2024 so I can net the income that I want to net. Are you with me? Right? Which means really boils down to, in the KW world, an MREA economic model, it really boils down to how many buyer consultation and listing consultations should I go on a weekly or monthly basis, such that by doing so, I'll be able to do the number of closed units that I'm supposed to do so I can net the income that I want to net. Are you with me? It works it backwards. So in our lead generation model or economic model at Place, this is what it looks like. Number one, you want to focus on the left-hand side when it comes to building a business plan on how to do the closed units you want. You got to focus on database, which is past clients and sphere immediately. It's sweat equity. There's people that know you, like you, and trust you. You have to be the real estate economist of choice for those people right now before you start dropping cash on lead systems and stuff like that, right? You have to lead with revenue, not with expenses. That's rule number one, right? Number two is open houses. You want to do open houses consistently. Number three, you want to cold call and prospect. These three things don't cost a lot of money. I call them sweat equity, not check equity. It's where you need to be. In our world, on my team, number one, the standard is you're doing 40 lead follow-up conversations a week, not calls. So you're talking to 40 people in our CRM Brivity on a weekly basis, Monday through Sunday. Number two, you're doing 2 open houses at minimum on a weekly basis. And number three, you're dialing 350 cold calls in Mojo per week. Those are the 3-tier standards when it comes to setting up an economic model and then doing our lead generation thereafter. When that's all said and done and you're doing your 1 or 2 units a month or whatever you need on the non-paid side, then we'll share our leads with you. that we pay for. Until then, it doesn't really matter, because if you don't know how to close scripts and dialogues, conduct a buyer consult, conduct a listing consult, why would you drop cash on leads? And why would I waste my money as your business partner for leads that you can't even convert? So I teach people how to fish. I don't give them fish, right? Leads is nothing in a team's world anymore. It used to be. So the key thing is I want to teach people how to fish and how to generate and build their own book of business in my world as their business partner. That's the key thing, right? But economic model, you got to know where you're going. You run a business. You don't have a job, right? So you got to know the metrics of how to be able to build a business. What's my economic model? How many units do I got to do? How many listings do I got to take? How many buyer consults do I got to go on? How many buyer brokers do I got to get signed? And yes, you want to start getting those signed, by the way. It's what's changing in the world, right? So I think the economic model is important. It's the basis of building a business plan. If you don't have one, it's like you're going down the 405 freeway at 5 in the morning with your headlights on, and it's literally foggier than you've ever seen in your life, and you can't see past this. I'd rather drive down the 405 freeway at 5 in the morning with nobody on it, no fog, headlights, and I can see the exit that's a mile away. That's how you run a business. So raise your hand if that made sense. Okay, cool.
No, and I think I think you bring up a great transition. What are your favorite lead? How are you attracting these prospects? How are you building that database?
So we run our CRM. It's in Brivity.
Are you bringing that? Mm-hmm.
Anybody heard Brivity before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lucky we own it. Ben created it, right?
Yeah.
I think any CRM is great. The best CRM is the one that you use. But obviously, I have a bias because we own the company. And
No,
that's part of it is. But the key thing is you want to limit too many tech tools. The more simplified you can make your business, the better. We use Brivity, we use Gmail apps, Google apps, and we use Mojo. But Mojo, we're actually going to stop using in 2 months because anybody heard LandVoice?
Yeah.
Yeah, we bought LandVoice about 90 days ago. We haven't told anybody. So we're implementing LandVoice data inside of our Brivity. So we're not going to use Mojo anymore because we have a dialer within Brivity. So now we're going to have two systems, Google Apps and our CRM. So the easier you get, the better. All these 15 tools that we use and we get sold on, or they're free, complexity is there for us to justify our inactions. Ben says complexity is there to justify our inactions. Keep things simple. Get out there, pound the pavement, right? Talk to your friends and family. Don't DM them. Don't text them. Pick up a freaking phone call and have a conversation because they want to hear your voice. The market's changing. Get out there and do open houses. Get belly to belly with people, right? Cold call, yes, cold call. Generate new leads that you haven't talked to before. If you do these consistent activities, I mean, you'd be an idiot and the most unlucky person in the world not to generate some sort of business. If you just do it, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, as God is my witness, you will generate consistent business. Problem is that 90% of the industry just doesn't do the activity.
Or they don't have the patience. Yeah. Because sometimes there's a lag time.
Yeah. You know what? Real good point, man. Real good point.
Well, why don't you pick up where you left off on there, man? Why don't you spit some gospel on us?
So a couple things, because you guys said something that kind of dovetailed. So you talked about red light, green light. Fred didn't mention this, but prospecting based and marketing enhanced. You've heard that term. Okay. I'm going to get to the lead sources. So we also use Brivity as a team, by the way, as a side note. But there's one thing that I would be remiss if I don't tell you, okay? Going back to the KPIs, just to switch lanes for one thing. Here would be the KPI that I would look at. And we've got a bunch of them. And there's, I agree with Fred as far as not using a lot of systems. We also use something called Sisu and stuff like that. But I would tell you this. The number one thing that I would work on, I go to a listing presentation. How many times do I convert them? Okay? That would be my number one thing. Number two, I work with the buyer. How many times do they write an offer? Those would be my two KPIs. Now, I can tell you 250 dials, 50 contacts, 5 leads, 2 appointments, 65. I can focus on those two.
That's good.
And then with that in mind, ask this question. How can I get better? Okay? So I'm going to tell you this. When we set a listing appointment, we have a digital email that goes out to them with our pre-listing packet. A handwritten note. Something from the title company goes out. Just something. We try to touch them 6 to 8 times before we walk in the door.
That's awesome.
Okay?
That's phenomenal.
So that is it. So we look at our conversion. We tell them the price. We haven't seen the home, but we give them a range. We give them a net sheet. We want full transparency. Why? We earn more money if we make people feel good and there's no surprises. We want them looking for us to come out. If you're showing homes to a buyer and not getting signed contracts, you're not showing them the right properties and you have not asked them good enough questions. Does that make sense? So, anyways.
No. You're right on.
So lead sources, I would tell you this. We do not call anything a cold call in our business. So we do circle prospecting, Mojo. But if you have a value proposition, hi, this is Derek with Keller Williams Real Estate. We just listed a property at 123 ABC Street. It's got 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,500 square feet, listed at 1.1. The reason we're calling, underline the word reason. We have a reason for calling you. The reason we're calling is there's lack of inventory, prices have went up 7%, and we were just wondering, A, would you like to choose your neighbor? We're calling all the local homeowners. No problem. By the way, have you guys given any thought to where you're moving in the next 5 years? So I would just say this. You could actually do a shoestring business. First 5 years, no money spent on anything. You know, with Fred's Circle, 100% on the left side. You can do it. Okay?
Tough crowd follow-up show. What about you? What are your lead gen? We're just talking about the lead gen. Where you're tracking where you're finding your deals right now, you know.
So every year I look and see where we're at. And number one has always been past clients, always. Number two is networking, the belly to belly, you know, getting out there. And I'm in fact, I'm president of the Sunset Beach Women's Club, and I just came from that meeting, and I've gotten a lot of business from that. So joining things where you can get in front of people, especially because open houses are kind of hard to do right now. There's not that many opportunities for open house, so you've got to find other ways to get in front of people.
I ran the MLS I think on Saturday. I went out with a few of you guys for agent preview. I ran the vacant properties that didn't have an open house, or they were listed, they were active, and they didn't have an open house. There's 13, and they were vacant as well. You can have that additional filter at the bottom of the MLS. They were vacant, and they weren't going on Saturday when we went out. It was fascinating. So.
Yeah. So, but with lack of inventory, I say just get in a networking group, get in front of people, because that has been always, as long as I've been keeping track, in my top 3. The third one has been from my database, internet, kind of a combination, because we do email blast out. Well, everybody in here should be in my database. Yeah. If you haven't got an email from me, something's wrong. but you know, 3 to 4 times a week we email, and it's something of use too. It's not just sold. We do a dine out brochure to help the local businesses. The toy drive. You know, we do a lot of things for the community that we put out there to keep their interest, and then it'll be open house or just sold. Free dinner, neighborhood directory, open house. So you've got to keep their interest. It can't be all real estate. Same with your social media. We mix it up too to keep. I mean, my dog I think is famous now. She's been on. I go into restaurants and they're like, "Where's Clover?" You know. But
I mean, your dying cards at long-term nurture. That's very good. What about you guys? How are you guys long-term nurturing someone?
I want to go to Fred because, but I just want to say one thing about your marketing, because when we became friends, you started marketing me, and it feels very local. And I think you do a great job of making it feel like I feel like you're the local Huntington Beach agent. So go ahead, Fred.
What's the question?
Well, and I want to add one thing. That's another thing. A lot of Keller Williams referrals from other agents, because they're associating me with that local market. So that has grown like crazy over the years, is getting more referrals from other agents. And they're all in my database too. So.
Yeah, long-term nurture. How are you engaging those clients that have been on the fence or might be sitting out, haven't talked to them?
So going back to leads, right? The way that I think about this in my personal production and people I coach and train and partner with is we don't have leads in our system. You realize that, right? In our CRM, anybody have a CRM that they use? Raise your hand. Might have a couple hundred, a couple thousand. Those are contacts. Those are people. They're not leads. Until you call them and create urgency with those individuals and they raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm thinking about buying or selling, like Derek had a great script. So all these leads, does anybody here have at least 10 people, 15 people that they've talked to in the past 12 months that weren't ready to transact, but maybe in the future they might do something? Raise your hand. Should be a lot of us, right? So I'd call that person and say, ring, ring. Hey, John, it's Fred Said. How are you? Awesome. Hey, great catching up. I know we've talked about your home in Huntington Beach multiple times in the past year and a half. Last time we talked, it looks like you said that you just weren't ready. You were thinking about doing it maybe in 2025 to sell your home. Can I give you a quick market update? They say, absolutely. Hey, great news. Inventory is still extremely low. There's less than 2,000 homes for sale in Orange County. We should be at probably 4,500 or 5,000. Buyers are coming out swinging in January. Rates are 6%. And I kid you not, I'm seeing 23 to 28 offers a home under 1.5 million, which it looks like your property's worth. If I can get you 50 to 80 grand above market value, would you consider selling in the next 90 days? Now, what's going to happen with that person? There's two answers, right? Yes or no. If it's a no, hey, continue dripping and nurturing on that person. If they're like, you liar, you can't do that, I'm like, I'll show you what I just did and what we're doing right now. So what I did is I took a pool full of contacts. I used a script using what's called creating urgency with that individual. And if they put their hand up, they come to the surface and say, now I'm a motivated lead, not a contact anymore. So our job is to consistently talk to human beings with scripts and dialogues that create urgency psychologically so they can do this or they can do this. And when they do this, then I close for the face-to-face or the Zoom. We're just not doing this enough, right? So it's okay having a lot of nurturers that you're dripping on long-term that hopefully you have a system for that's doing automatic with home valuation updates, but you got to put in the call activity and you got to create urgency. It's not that difficult to say something like that because that's the truth. That's last time I checked. Is there a home that you know that's got 20 offers in Huntington right now? I'm pretty damn sure, right? I'm partnered with a guy hopefully that I'll talk to today. He sells 40 homes a year in Long Beach, and he's hopefully going to partner with me next month. But he's like, bro, I got a home in Whittier, a home in this. I got 28 offers in 72 hours, and they're already priced at market. So he's listed on for $750. It's going to sell for $810 in Whittier, 80 grand above appraised value right now. So that's happening all over the place for a well-priced home. Our job was to take the message and then articulate that to a consumer, create urgency, and hopefully we get people to come to the surface, right? And then everybody else, you just drip on, you nurture, you follow up with, you provide value, you be the real estate economist of choice. And hopefully when they're ready, then you have an opportunity to interview for the job of getting their home sold. Until then, they're just a contact. And if you don't make any calls at all, then somebody like the three of us are probably going to sell that house. Right? So,
What about you, Derek? What's your favorite script right now? Maybe to create urgency, get them interested to talk, and get that face-to-face appointment. What do you sound like on that?
I would tell you this. So first of all, I wrote down scripts and dialogues as Fred was talking. And did that sound natural, by the way? It sounded natural, right? So I thought it sounded natural. In fact, I wrote that down. Fred, have you ever practiced that script?
yes.
Okay. So I would tell you this. I practice scripts 4 days a week. Now, there's some mindset brought in, and there's some situation analysis brought in, but I practice scripts 4 days a week, okay? And I role play with my team. So I can get to the point. So why do I do that? So I do it with my partners. Why do I do that? I want them to have the confidence to meet with clients. Because when you have confidence, does the customer feel better about that? Is there assurance, right? If you feel confident. So, I mean, I can tell you that one of my pieces of advice, part of it was going to be work on your value proposition, which we'll talk about that. By the way, do you know why I'm here today? Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys know something. So, our volume as far as numbers have went down, but last year, the year we sold 423 homes. 50 of those came by way of relationships and reputation.
Nice.
So why am I here? We have deals accepted. If I've been doing this for 33 years, we have deals accepted. Oh, hey, you taught in our market center, like in Pasadena. Oh, you taught in Beverly Hills with Josh Piston. Oh, you were down here. Rich, I've taught in every single market, Downey, Huntington Beach. Building relationships. I'm here to build relationships.
Nice.
So when I go to a seller or a buyer, here's why you should choose me.
Yeah.
I've got 4 of them. Can I tell you number 2? Relationships. I've got more relationships that I've poured into over 33 years than any realtor you could talk to. Okay? Leverage that. But scripts and dialogues, I'll always just say this. You should write down, so you know what I do when I get out of a listing presentation? I grade myself like Tom Brady would. Could have done this better, could have, still to this day, could have done this better. Dope. And then if you are coming across the same thing, like I'm just going to tell you this. If you're a real estate agent and you haven't figured out how to handle this objection the last 3 years, interest rates are too high. You should leave the business. You've heard it. Okay? Well, Derek, interest rates are too high. No problem. Let me ask you this. What are you used to? Okay? Well, we're used to, 3%. Great. Did you know that payments only go down on an average, we were talking about average sales price, $120 per month? Okay? $120 per month if it goes down a quarter of a point. I know there's some loan officers in the room. Okay? Can you afford, $4 a day? Oh, yeah, we can afford $4. Well, let's just do this. Why are you buying this house? Well, we want a pool for the kids. Is it worth $4 a day? I could go round and round, give you like 10 different things to say when they say the interest rates are too high. That's really good. Does that make sense? And then I got one more thing to say, but I'll wait.
No.
Can I just tell you my close? You guys want to know?
Oh, absolutely.
Preach.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me say this. Just because I want to. I go to a seller. Fred, you're going to like this. I'm going to say, hey, what do you really want? You're going to love this. Well, we're talking to Sean Stanfield and Tim Smith. I go, but what do you want? I go, I know what you want. They're going to say, what do we want? I go, you really only want 2 things. You really don't care about the brochures or the track record. You want a smooth process, and you want the most amount of money for this asset, don't you? I say, yeah, you're reading my mind. I go, how many agents have you interviewed? Well, I've interviewed 9. Compass, First Team, Keller Williams. Okay. Did any of those tell you how to do it? No, they told us about their track record. Will you sign a listing agreement if I tell you how to do it? Yeah. Well, how you do it? Through negotiations. Can I tell you how? By the way, you guys do the same thing. You just don't tell the sellers you do it. I tell everybody, has anybody told you how they get you the most amount of money for a piece of real estate? They say, nobody's ever told us that. Has anybody asked you? No, nobody's ever asked us that because they don't have the answer. I have the answer. Just a thought.
See, coffee isn't for closers. Coffee's not for closers. Coffee's for Derek. I was sick, bro.
Oh, man. That was hot.
I recorded that.
And, oddly enough, Derek, I think that's when we actually first, Derek and I actually did a class, what was it, like August, October together. Yes. And that's the first time, he's been around in the community for years. I think I first met you when I was in Newport. Yes. And you've been around, but at a class. So if you ever guys have the opportunity to go out to any kind of educational events, just general networking events, take that opportunity, meet your peers, right? I'm watching these guys, they talk like they've been old friends for how long you guys known each other for?
A minute.
A minute. Okay, we'll round that up. Okay. All right. So Derek, you're obviously ahead of the game. You're leading your team just in close drives, and you too, all of you guys are. What is your team doing now? And maybe even take a step back just so we can bring it back to some of the other people in the room. What's your advice for people who are trying to get momentum for 2024? What would you say that would be right now? Sure.
Trying to get momentum?
Yeah.
Well, back to the big why. Why are you doing this? If you don't know why, you're probably not going to do well. So we've always had our big why, and from that you set your goals on what you need, and then get excited. Like I said, a lot of your competition is gone. So that's when I really excelled, was when my competition went away. In one of the worst markets, I just blossomed. So take advantage of that right now, and don't be upset by it. And also on a tip on the phone calls. First of all, we are finding a lot less people answer the phone, so we are doing more texting. But Diana Kokoska, one of Diana's diamonds, and I say it to this day, when someone answers the phone, the very first thing you should say is thanks for taking my call, because nobody hangs up on you when you thank them right from the beginning. So I've taught everybody I'm mentoring to say that from the beginning, and it really sets the tone a lot better, because they're getting a lot of sales calls, partially because Keller Williams has taught everybody to do this. But every other industry out there is calling right now. And I know my phone rings 20 times a day with someone trying to sell me something. So start by thanking them, and you'll get a lot farther on that call.
Ray, you want to add to momentum in 2024? What?
Well, you guys ever look at the concept of those old train, not old, maybe newer, but the ones that you put coal in and it right? The beginning is the hardest. Would you agree? Imagine if you were pushing that train, trying to get it to go a little faster. It'd be the hardest in the beginning. So the key thing is that you got to do consistent activity right now. And it's whatever you want. I said call your database, a couple lead follow-up calls, 40 a week, conversations, right? Open houses a couple, cold calling, just whatever it is for you. But you got to do it daily. You got to have a schedule around it. You got to do it consistently. And you just can't do it for a week and say it didn't work, like the lack of patience that you were talking about, right? But I'm talking about doing it for 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 14, 18 consecutive weeks with no break. What happens is the train's now moving fast. And I call the gods of real estate or real estate momentum when that comes in. I know at this point in my career, if I haven't sold a house in a month or two, right, for whatever reason, I can get on the phone for 3 consecutive weeks and I'll pop 3 to 5 listings and I'll pop 4 to 5 escrows within 60 days. Because I know when I get into activity, momentum will follow. Because once that train is going at the speed that you want it to go out, it then just needs some coals here and there, right? So as long as you're just doing the activity consistently, that's the key thing. I think the biggest problem that I know each of you were to say, who thinks, raise your hand, if you know what to do. You're just hearing today and socializing, you know what to do. You really do know what to do in your mind, right? Who feels that if they at least commit to doing the activity that they know will bring them deals in your mind already, but if you can do that for 8 consecutive weeks, do you feel that will bring you business? Raise your hand if you think that's the case. So there you go. Question becomes, do you have a partner or do you have an associate that's holding you accountable? The biggest problem we have in our industry, Ben calls it leadership loneliness. Right? That's why I partner with Ben, because it's lonely running a team or building a small business. Now I'm not, because Place is the number 1 mega team in North America. So I'm partnered with 325 of the number 1 operators in North America. So I'm not lonely anymore. We talk all day long, 24/7. But as an agent, it could be real lonely out there. And in the loneliest place, which is in your house, on your own, on the couch, your mind can really mess with you. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Question becomes, who's helping you get out of that mind gutter? Who's your partner? Yeah. Cool.
Can I add the momentum on that?
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think got a lot of good things. So just 2 things on the listing presentation. What Cheryl said. So we have a listing presentation that we built, but the very first words, and there's 4 bullet points on it. The very first words are thank you. The consumer has choices, and the more you come from gratefulness and respect, the higher your chances of them building a relationship and hiring you go up. That's number 1. Number 2, Fred said something as far as the activity. We all know what to do, okay? So one of the things we're doing for our organization is we're having everybody, and we got this idea from the movie Miracle. It's about the U.S. hockey team.
Oh, yeah.
Some of you guys have seen that.
Great movie.
So we're having everybody write a promise letter to their family and their business partners and why they're doing what they're doing.
Oh, nice.
And then we are putting it on our wall, and we're calling it the promise wall. And kind of like when Notre Dame football goes out, they hit this. So we're going to have everybody, when they walk into this office, they're going to hit the promise wall. Okay. And then the other thing is this. I mean, you need to figure out, Tony Robbins talks about pain and pleasure and the carrot and the stick, but you need to figure out where you get optimum performance, okay? And I'm not thrilled to say it, but I get optimum performance when my back's against the wall. That's just how I roll. You just need to know your psychology. So if I don't have any money in the bank, there's been times over the last 33 years, I know that I'm going to get out there, but you need to know what motivates you. I have business partners that say, hey, you know what? I want the new Range Rover. That motivates me, or whatever it is. But you need to know what motivates you and then set up strategies around that. Does that make sense? And then the only other thing I talked about patience is this. Go back to what Fred says, the activity is this. We're all after self-esteem. And if you work your butt off, I've been through as many slumps as anybody in this room, probably times 10. Okay? It's called cycles, business cycles. Jack Welch would tell you business cycles. But I focus on having a powerful, productive day, leaving it all out on the table, and then letting, Darren Hardy, the compound effect, the hockey stick kick in. My job in the equation is to work my butt off and bring the salsa to the chips party. That's it. Okay?
Spicy.
That's it, bro.
We'll go back to Cheryl. I want to touch on something. If you can push that back. Just a follow-up, Jack. So you talked about that promise wall. As we kind of go into what's your organization look like? What's your culture look like? Why don't you share about what you're looking for? When
look,
you talk to talent.
We don't have a big organization, but we built a special one. Okay. And it took a lot of learning and falling and stuff like that. And our organization, we had an escrow company, and our organization, at our Christmas party, we had people come up and say, everybody came up and introduced themselves and made themselves feel incredible. Nick Saban retired, but if you walk into our office, people are saying yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and stuff like that. We treat people with respect.
That's awesome.
We're always hugging, high-fiving, handshaking. So there's people in this room that I went to Bold with, or there's people, I sought them out. There was a hug, or handshake, or a high five. So we build that culture in, okay? We like being small but mighty. We have respect for a lot of the people that have done bigger things, but we like being small but mighty. So, and I would just say this, culture starts with you, okay? Which means you've heard my calls. We say, treat the other agents well, treat the title, treat your title agents, your affiliates well, okay? They are microphones in the community for you.
Straight up.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hey, you built it all on referrals? No, people say, hey, go work. So, and the number one reason I came to Keller Williams back in 2016 was the culture, opportunities, and by the way, and working with people that are smarter than myself. Okay? I was okay saying that. Okay?
What about you, Cheryl? What's your culture? What's your team culture like? You talked a little bit about the scripts things you got going on weekly. I know you had that Santa. You have that big photo booth that I always thank you for letting me borrow.
Culture is giving back to the community. We're very big about that. I was brought up that way. My husband was brought up that way, even more so because they let strangers stay in their house all the time. But we do a huge toy drive every year that was really actually hard this year. It's getting harder to do some of these things. But we do dog rescues. I'm president of a women's club that just it's all about raising money for local scholarships here. We gave 18 scholarships away last year, most of Huntington Beach High School. So I just always believed in giving back. You've got to share. I'm so grateful for what I've been able to do, and I pinch myself every day when I look at what I have and how humbling I was brought up. But what we've been able to give back to the community is amazing. And if people that I am doing business with and in my organization don't feel the same way, they don't belong in my organization. So that's really what it's about. And there's nothing more. Just handing out the toys to those kids Christmas Eve, that alone, all year long, is just, and these kids wouldn't have had Christmas if we hadn't done that. It was just, they each got, we loaded up a 27-foot moving van from the bottom to the top, and still had to get another van because we had so many toys. Thanks to a lot of people in this room for donating toys as well. And each kid got 5 toys. And these are kids that wouldn't have gotten anything for Christmas. So it was just that. And if anybody wants to do that with me next year, I got to tell you, it's just so rewarding, but a lot of work. So anyway, it's giving back. That's our culture.
Well, you, Fred, how would you describe your culture? I mean, you talk 24/7.
Yeah.
You know.
So I would say the way I describe our culture of our local team, the Fred Said Group, the challenge for us is that I'm not a normal team, meaning I have a team in one office, right? I operate out of the Keller Williams Irvine office, but we're in 5 KW, so there's 30 of us on the team, right? I have 21 agents right now. I have myself, Lacey, who's my COO. She oversees my staff. And we have 2 additional employees, 2 virtual assistants, showing assistants. About 30 of us on our team right now, but we're spread in 5 market centers. So it's challenging leading a group of people that aren't always physically together every day, right? So we've been able to develop a virtual culture, even though we see each other a lot, right, in our respective locations. We have a culture of transparency. Everybody knows what everybody's production is, calls are, accountability. So people know in my team, my business partners, that you can't hide behind a water bottle because you didn't know your activity, right? Number 2, it's a culture of productivity. Transparency is number 1. Productivity is number 2. I've always said, and this might be a kind of a nasty analogy, I don't think it is, but I've always used the analogy when building a team is I said, my business is like a cow, and I want you to milk it for what it's worth. I surrender to the fact that my team, the Fred Said Group, is here to provide business services to you, real estate agent. In that 50-50 partnership, I'm going to front the money for everything that you physically need to sell homes. I'm going to provide office space, lead generation, counseling, coaching, CRM, leads, presentations. I'll close the damn appointment with you if I have to, right? I just want you to do your part, which is lead generate, lead follow-up, do what you do. And if we're both successful, we're going to build a profitable business together. Then the third thing is a business of a culture of transformation. I mean, I've purchased properties with my agents. I bought 3 of them last year in Oklahoma with my agents that wanted to get into wealth building. I've helped people pay off $100,000 in debt. I've helped people get engaged and married and lose weight. It's not because I'm the expert in that. It's because they tell me as my partner that's their goal, and my job is to hold them accountable to the potential of who they are as a human being. And I won't rest until that exists. Or you quit and you leave, and I'm okay either way. But I don't take it lightly when you say, I want to be your business partner. So in return, I want these expectations for you because we're partners. You don't work for me, right? So it's important that you have to understand, we're talking about our teams and our successes, and that's all great. And I believe the 3 of us are pretty damn humble, right? We're not ones to brag in many ways. And that's the way it should be, by the way, humble and hungry always. But no matter where you're at in your career, I want you to know that you have to establish your own culture right now for yourself, even if you're a solo agent, for your clients, for yourself. So then on that foundation, you can build something that you want to build for yourself, whether that's in partnership with one of us or that's on your own. It doesn't matter. But you got to be 100% clear on what that is for yourself. And the key thing is, my pastor wrote a book recently called Envy. My wife read it, and we talked about, it goes in line with comparison, right? Have you heard that concept that comparison is the thief of all joy? Have you heard that before? Right? Yeah. Right? And I struggle with this all the time. I'll look at my brother over there and I say, man, I want to be Derek. He's killing it. But I'm not Derek, and he's not me. So I got to snap myself back into reality and say, what do I want to do? What does my family need of me? What does my future self require of me today? Otherwise, my future self won't exist. How can I be today so that in the future God will bless me with human beings that I can help transform their lives? Challenge we have as human beings, ladies and gentlemen, is that we spend too much time on those phones, on Insta, on Facebook, and we see, and I wasn't joking with how I started this conversation, the BS that's posted, that's not real. Anytime somebody tells me I'm killing on this, I literally go to Broker Metrics or I go on the MLS and I look up how many listings they've had in the past 6 months. Look me up. I'm proud of it. Look up my team. I'm okay. But if I see this guy's done 0 listings in the past 6 months and he's posting about this BS about a friend's listing, I'm like, dude, this guy's fake. I don't want to work with him. I don't want to be in business with him. So our culture is that. Cool?
Greg,
Right.
can I just add a couple things on that? I'm really enjoying being here, by the way. If you haven't noticed, with Cheryl and Fred. But I will just tell you, I always tell people you're going to learn more from my mistakes and the things I've done wrong. Okay, so I believe in working on your weaknesses, and I battled that, and all the way back to Zig Ziglar. Do I work on my weaknesses or my strengths? But I'm just going to give you a couple things. Number one, besides the KPA, when somebody comes in, I whip out a little old school 3x5 card. Okay, and I just say, let me just tell you a little bit about it. I mean, we got a digital presentation, we got all these different things, but I say this. I say, number one, I'm going to make you no promises. Well, I've talked to 5 other people that are going to make us a bunch of promises. No promises. We talk about partners. So partners make agreements, and they each stick to the agreement. So I say no promises. Number 2, we're a startup. Well, I thought you've been doing this for 33 years. We have the mentality of constantly improving. So I need you to understand we're going to be better tomorrow. And number 3, I say, given the opportunity, I will change your life. I say, nobody's ever said that. And I look them in the eye when I say that third thing. It's a little 3x5 card. And then I say, and then I lean in, kind of like I do with the seller when I'm saying, hey, did anybody? I lean in. I say, can I just tell you something? We have a low turnover here, but we have people that do leave. But can I tell you why? And they say, why? I say, most people leave residential real estate. I'm 55. I've been doing rounds. They actually leave because it's too easy. Do you know why people leave us? Well, why is that? Because we're always turning up the heat on them.
Yeah.
Okay? People don't leave us. And I say, can I tell you how the next conversation goes when you're going over there? Hey, why'd you leave working with Derek? Well, he was talking about goals, and he was talking about accountability, and he was telling me to write these dream boards, and we were having he was telling me about this Jay-Z party that we're going to do for our team and all this. And I think he was a little bit crazy and talking about chips and salsa. And then the other broker's going to say, I got nothing. So I think from a culture standpoint, because when I started off, I didn't have the courage to enforce those standards but when you get to the point where your value proposition hits that 212 degrees, then you can say, okay, now I'm really in it to try to transform it. And if they are who they say they are, it is game on, and we're going to have a fun life together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Before I go to show, Jack, what's your team structure look like right now? You talked about the interviews. I'm sure you got more admins than anyone.
So no, actually I don't.
Really?
So I used to, and then we literally rebuilt our transaction, and we learned that we needed a lot of admins, and we haven't implemented AI. We need a lot of admins because we were sloppy, and we had repeatable processes, and just like the bricklayer study and time management studies. So no, we only have 3 admin, and I have a director of operations, and a person I'm grooming to be the president of the company. I'm wise enough to know, and he's 35 years old. I'm wise enough to know that he is he's a great leader, and but no, it's really sales agents. So it is not top heavy. Okay, I am prospecting based. We spent 2 years making sure that our systems and everything is detailed in. So labor and rent are the 2 highest costs when you're operating a business. Right. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot being part of Keller Williams as far as red light, green light, and trying to run a profitable business.
Cheryl, what's your organization look like?
I have a director of operations and a director of customer service and a director that I'm married to, and I'm not sure what his job is now, who desperately wants to retire.
Director of
Cowboy. He is in charge of our vacations. Where are we staying for family reunion? But I think first you look at the things you don't want to do or that you're not good at or that's taking time away from you growing your business. And so we work with a lot of seniors. We clear out their homes. We clean their homes. We stage their homes. Just dealt with one who'd been in his home 47 years. I already moved in with a girlfriend 2 years ago, but he kept crying. And so one of the guys on my team who helps clear out these homes, he was in hospice care, and he still does hospice care part-time. So he knew exactly how to help this senior because you are like dying when you're giving up this house you've been in for 47 years, even though he has a new life. So we go through that all the time, the emotions, but to have the help to get those houses cleaned out and walk them through the process of this new life. The great thing is, once their home's sold and they started their new life, they're just so happy. But getting them through that point, I found I couldn't do that on my own. I needed help. So, in fact, this last week, both Freddie and Nate have been at this house all week long getting it ready. We have a new listing in Garden Grove, by the way, if someone needs a house in Garden Grove. So having that, all those things, I don't put up signs, I don't do lock boxes, I don't do, all those things. I'm basically calling past clients, mentoring, which I love, answering the new agents that I'm helping, answering their questions. And but you do need that out. I have a virtual assistant who helps me with the marketing. He's been with me for 7 years. He is amazing. He's actually local, but we never see him, so he's virtual. We were just saying, in 7 years, I've seen him 5 times. So, you got to look at what you can't do on your own. And I think even when I first started, I'm not doing the paperwork. I'll learn it, but I'm not. That's sucking up a lot of my time. I need a TC. And then it was, you realize how important your title rep is, how important escrow is. All these people around you are part of your team as well. You're a home inspector. Everybody is part of your team, and you couldn't do it without them. I think your title rep should be your best friend, and probably your lender your second best friend, especially right now. And that's another thing what we're doing with all the new there's a lot of loan products out there. So all those people that are waiting because of interest rates that are high, we're trying to reel them in with new what if I could get you 4% right now, or what if I could get you 5% right now? That's, hoping to get them to call you back as well. So,
Fred, similar question. What's your organizational structure? More day to day, right? I know you got your partners and stuff like that.
Like what my day-to-day looks like?
Or like for your team and your structure.
Yeah, so I have
business.
I have 3 main employees that work out of the Irvine location. I have 2 virtual assistants in the Philippines. I have 20 agents right now. I have a showing assistant and myself. That's in our Fred Said group. I own a property management company as well called 24-Hour Property Management. We manage a lot of Orange County-based investment homes, and we love the referrals that you have. We give a $500 referral for every management deal that you send us. But that one, I have a property manager, and then he has a virtual assistant, and we're hiring a leasing consultant right now. We manage about 100 doors right now in addition to our residential business. So that's kind of our structure. And I think it's so important that as a solo agent, if that's who you are listening to me, don't ever be intimidated by an actual team like ours, right? You have to understand, when I started, I was a solo agent 8 years ago, 9 years ago, really building a small team. But I really didn't get going until 2016, 17, to really building an organization. Back then, I looked at my team as my title rep, my lender, my escrow officer, my TC, right? Like these people represented me in front of my clients as my team. So that's where it really begins. And that's where you can build systems and operations and things of that nature, right? It's funny. Anybody know who Elizabeth Doe is? So Liz is one of my homegirls. Like man, that girl is a beast. I share this all the time. I was telling there's an escrow company downstairs that I use and I work with. I was saying hi to them, and I was saying Liz is probably the best female business owner I've ever met in my entire life. And we've been friends for I want to say 7 to 10 years. And the one thing that I remember about her when we first met, when I did a panel somewhere. And I had her as one of my guests on a panel. She told me that when she was a solo agent back in the day at KW, she knew ahead of time that she was going to build an organization, right? And the one thing that she did, because if you know anything about Liz, she learned a lot of her business savvy from her father in Vietnam, right? Just that, her brother, I won't get into it. But the one thing she did is like, okay, I'm going to build a team in the future. It's me now, right? But I got to build a team. So she spent 30 consecutive days, and she documented everything that she did. How do I show a property? I do this. How do I comp a property? I do this, right? She basically built her future team's operation and procedure manual by just tracking and documenting everything she did as a solo agent for for 30 consecutive days. And I believe that O&P manual is still in her office on Bushard, her new office that she has, right? I just think it's a fantastic story. I think about that all the time when it comes to building a business. So you can start doing these things right now. You don't have to, get all high and mighty and stuff like that. You can just do what you're doing right now and start documenting systems with the hope one day, if that's your fruition and your wish, to build an actual organization, then you have something that you can build it off of. Sometimes we don't spend enough time thinking with the end in mind. It's crazy. This is kind of random. Can I say something random?
Absolutely.
Is that cool? I took a couple listings. And one listing I listed in Anaheim. The owner, Jake, passed away. His son contacted me, and I'm helping the son and the mom sell the house. Old home, blue carpet. You'll see it on the MLS if you look it up. But the son's in Texas. The mom's in Georgia. They wanted to move fast. He's not even here to clear his dad's belongings. He passed away 30 days ago in the home, natural causes. I took my son there about 4 days ago over the weekend, and I took some bins, and I said to the son, Steve, Steve, you know what I'll do? Because he passed away, and he had bills on the table, medication on the counter. I mean, it's like he's lifting, right? So I went there with my son for about 45 minutes. My son, Jackson, is 11 years old. We took some bins, and just to clear it off to make it presentable for photos. We were selling it as is, trust sale, so we didn't have to do much staging or anything. He just wanted to sell it, move it, and cash out top dollar. But I'm there, and it kind of changed my perspective on life a little bit. I'm literally there. I'm a random stranger, real estate broker, and I'm there taking magnets off his fridge. I'm taking his bills and his glasses that he was wearing right before he passed out and died. I'm putting him in a bin. I'm clearing off his countertop. I'm making his bed that he didn't make because the morning he woke up and got out of that bed, he never went back in it. And I'm doing these things, and I'm like, wow, that's life. Some stranger is in my home. And I told Derek earlier, a mentor of mine told me a statement that you're never going to be able to attach a U-Haul to your hearse. You can never attach a U-Haul to your hearse. And I was there the other day decluttering this guy's house, and I thought to myself, I'm like, what's life all about? Is life all about phones and cars and money and houses? Or is it the fact that I can actually do something like this and share the story with my son and cherish the time that I have with them, right? So the reason you got to have a business and you have to have systems and infrastructure is because do you want to spend 7 days a week working your ass off to sell a home a year and waste all that time away from the ones that really matter to you? Or to run a high-powered business such that you can then have unlimited time with the ones that matter to you? Make sense? I got my teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
It was
Give everyone a round of applause on there.
It was just a wake-up call. Sometimes you get those, right? I'm grateful when I get them and I see them and it stuns me and I'm taking this guy's magnets off and I'm like, man, you got to get your shit together, bro. I got to get my priorities straight. Sometimes I lose sight of my priorities. I'm human, man. I'm guilty. I'm a sinner, right?
No, we all are.
So
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Was that a powerful story? You know what I mean? But on that note, and I'm going to go back to the Elizabeth Doe comment because, I always look around a room when I've taught, and I always wonder who's going to be the guy or who's going to be the girl. And I always look around the room. And Mike Ferry said this to me a long time ago. Okay, Palm Desert, when like Matt and Tom were just pipsqueaks getting them on stage. Okay, okay. He goes, hey, how many people in the room? 5,000. Big turnout, man. Super retreat. He goes, here are the numbers. Probably about 50 people will do something with the material. I'm charging them $2,500, so, okay. And we all come to these things and get great ideas. Like right now, what Fred just said about Elizabeth Doe, track everything you do for 30 days. Well, I don't have a team. Just as an individual agent, okay? And then I always say this. If you don't do it, you need to think about where you find the desire to do it. Because you also said, Fred, at the start, you guys know everything to do. Yeah. Okay? So I would just tell you this, okay? Going back to that situation. My father passed away when I was 12 years old. okay? And he said something to me, pulled me out Little League cart, hey, and he was like 150 pounds, like shredded from cancer. He was 48 years old, okay? And he pulled me out, come out here. And he was in the car, blankets and everything, rolled down the window, okay? And he said, hey, got something for you. Gave me a little piece of advice. Last time I saw the dude, went to Scripps Hospital. He said, hey, what you are is my gift to you. Okay? What you become is your gift to me. And he got this from some college that he went to, St. Olaf down in Minnesota. But he put in, it's like it's supposed to have God, but he put in, it was a conversation between, okay? And that one thought at 12 years old, C student, not the smartest guy, all this stuff. I said, shit. I just said, that's it. I said, that's it. I said, hey, somebody says, hey, why are you building a team? For the money? No. People that know me know that I really don't care about money. I want to build something special, okay? Don't live a lavish lifestyle. I want to, it's just, it's a mark. But here's what I'll tell you. When I say that promise letter, I want you guys to think about this. Go out and be so freaking successful, and then think about this. Think about the people that you're going to go say, hey, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. You know what? Thank you for that. Thank you for that conversation. Guess what? Having that conversation with Marty Rodriguez. Rich, do you know how good that felt? Hey, by the way, no more like peanut brittle, because I was so poor when I was starting out. I had to take peanut brittle from our Christmas party because I had no money and I had no food in the refrigerator. And I had to take it from like Tim and Deborah Galley, like at a Christmas party, to sneak it out there. And I mean, that's literally how I started. Okay? Hey, by the way, thank you for that. I want you to think about that. When you're like, you need desire, who's going to be on my big thank you list, like when I hit it big? Even if I'm nothing right now, who's on my thank you list? Thanks to you, I did it. Just a thought.
All right, round of applause for everyone right now, okay? All right. We're going to just introduce a couple sponsors that help make this possible. Of course, I want to bring up Gary Wall with Hometown up here. And, of course, I want to recognize, well, why don't you go, you guys came as a tier. Jerry Ferris with Clearmark Title for donating all the filming equipment. Yeah, of course. If you need to go to the restroom, we're going to open up for questions or stuff you want to freshen up.
I'm going to use the restroom now.
Yeah, go.
Raise your hand. Give him a hand again. We love this kind of stuff. What we did is we're at Hometown. We're an app, and also what we did is we made this podcast into content that you guys could take home. So raise your hand if you want to actually take this home and get these nuggets. Raise your hand. Yes? All right. So what we're going to do is
I'm pulling it up.
Byron's going to put a screen on, and what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to register here. When you register, we're going to get that email. When we make this all happen and put it all together, we'll send it over to you. What Hometown is, it's basically like real estate and social media put together. Who uses Instagram for your marketing material? Raise your hand. Yes? Some of them? Some of you guys? Yeah? So one of the problems that we saw as Hometown is that we saw that agents were using real estate and were using Instagram for their marketing. But where are the buyers? Where are the buyers actually looking at homes? Are they looking at your Instagram for homes? No? Where are they looking? Zillow and Redfin and Trulia, right? When all the buyers are over here, you're doing already market here, what Hometown does is bridge those together. By putting the agent front and center, we hope to promote the agent first rather than have Zillow take you out of the picture. Does that make sense? So we're going to have a party. Who likes parties? Raise your hand. Yes. We're going to have a party and a podcast at my yacht club in Newport Beach, Bahia Corinthian Yacht Club on January 31st. That's going to be a Wednesday at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Go ahead and scan the QR code. What we're going to do, that's going to take you to this website exactly. And what you're going to do, you can register for that. And we're going to have a live podcast there also, which you also can get introduced to what Hometown is. Does that sound good?
So we just sign up on click to sign up on the form?
Yep, they're going to get you a form right there, and then there's going to be the January 31st. There's going to be different events, but January 31st is the one that you're going to be signing for in the OC. We're also going to be doing one on the west side in San Gabriel Valley, but then also this is the one we're going to be doing in the OC. I want to introduce someone really special, my title guy.
I want to be your best friend too.
My best friend, Jerry. Give Jerry a hand.
I'm good. Hey, I did not expect to be so moved right now. I am very moved. If you guys are here today, you're taking your business very seriously, so please give yourselves a round of applause. 23 was tough. 24 will be better. If you could look to the person next to you and say, you got this, please. You got this. We're doing this together.
Got this.
I got into real estate when I was 12 years old. So I was listening to your story, and my dad passed away when he was 39, so he was also young. But my first real estate transaction came as my parents' sign language interpreter. I was raised by two deaf parents, and so unfortunately for my mom, she paid for that inexperience the rest of her life. She relied on me as a 12-year-old boy to be the sign language interpreter during the biggest transaction. In fact, she just paid it off last summer. And so, but that has inspired me. I've been in the real estate business as a professional for about a decade now. I went from commercial real estate into residential. Byron, you may not remember this, but you were part of my very first transaction at KW. So you actually, we had never met in person, but you were the guy that was on the other line, and you were answering the phone. I was, and you were helping guide me through this transaction. It was a $3 million transaction. I had a client that was overseas. And so now I get to thank you in person. It took a couple of years, so thank you in person.
Small world, right?
And when I did join Keller Williams, one of the first teams I joined was the Jeff Yarborough team. Jeff Yarborough is big on place, and I still get these 1 hour brevity happy hour phone calls. These guys have built an incredible culture, and I'm a big fan. So I get to say thank you to you in person, which is pretty awesome too. So thank you very much. I'm a title guy now. And I never thought that I was going to get into title, but I love working with agents. And I think that part of my passion and my mission is to work with you and work with your why. And not just your why, but your who. And so I love what I do. I love working with agents. I had a hard time converting my sphere of influence into sales, but I really love being an extension of you and your brand. So I work with Clearmark Title. It's owned by Paul Morris. I work mainly with the Forward Living family, but I'm allowed to work with whomever. I respect your relationships with your title people, and I know we all have them. They've all been working hard for you. But I just really, today I came in with an idea of what I wanted to say, but I'm sitting over here just in awe of what you guys have built. And thank you. And thank you for guiding that arm. That was the hardest job of the day. Just giving the mic. But I'm leaving very inspired. And you don't know who you're going to be working with. This is a very small world. And so I look forward to maybe working with you sometime. But like you said, lean into your vendors. Your vendors are an extension of you. And let's have a really great 24. So thank you.
Awesome.
All.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to present the speakers with a gift. This is the book that Robert and I wrote. It's on Hometown. It's a journey of how we built this app. We'd love to tell you more about it, but if you can come up here and we'll take a picture together and present you these, that would be great.
Age before beauty.
There you go. Come on up here. Come on up here.
See, that beauty's coming up. What do you mean? Beauty's going up. Beauty's going up.
There you go.
I'm just fugly.
Byron.
What? Oh, yeah. I was admiring how on time we are.
Yep. All right.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, smile. I'll do one this way for the gram. Portrait mode. All right, beautiful.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
We're gonna have a Q&A in just a second. I got one more part. David, you want to come teach your class really quick? So we got our in-house title right here, David Gladrock. You want to grab a seat right there? We're gonna do our final question. We got like 15 minutes for
Hey, so I'm not a robot here, but like, Derek's story really hit home with me. Your story.
I know.
I guess that
We're gonna do some
hopefully this
Q&A
doesn't
really
happen,
quick.
but my father
Get you
passed away
another
when I was
$3 million
11.
referral.
And
It's only
those-
worth $2
those
million.
stories that we learn and those lessons
got
that we
time for
take on
15
from our
Q&A?
parents. And
Okay.
My dad used to tell me that like life happens in the cracks. It doesn't happen out in the open. And I think that's really important when we look at our real estate and our clients. And it's those small little things, caring about helping somebody clear out a home or something like that. Like our relationships and the trust that we have with each other happens in those cracks. So real quick, January 25th at noon at the Keller Williams' office in Huntington Beach, I'm going to be doing a class on Prop 19. Now, Prop 19, as you know, is one of the biggest changes in California real